Coaching in Session.
Your exclusive destination for unparalleled personal and professional growth.
With your host, Michael Rearden.
Whether you choose to live within limits or break free, your mindset journey begins here.
Life is going to be telling you what you can and what you can't be doing and what you should be doing. And if you're not doing it, you should feel bad about not doing it. Think of how we are so busy with our world today. We're trying to do everything. Where if we feel as if we have some downtime, we give ourselves this idea of we're not doing enough. But there comes a power in being still. There comes a power when you're taking it easy. But then again, most people, they think the opposite. They think that they have to keep on moving because movement equates to progress. But then again, sometimes that progress forward might be heading into the wrong direction. Because if you're heading into a wall, a bit of burnout, something that's going to stop you from moving forward smoothly, then it's something that we have to be bringing some attention to. But sometimes you have to take a step back, maybe sit down and say, let me pay attention. And so we look at this article that I have here. It's TUS Part 75, The Power of Stillness, Finding Peace in the Present Moment Instead of Constant Growth. Now, we talk about how constant growth is good here on the podcast. We talk about how constant growth is here on the blogs, and we talk about how constant growth is good in Reven concepts, right? This idea is a mindset, growth mindset. We want to grow, we want to progress, but are we doing it in a way that's beneficial? So we're going to be looking at a couple of things today. For example, how the constant pursuit of growth can sometimes lead to burnout and dissatisfaction. Sometimes the concept of acceptance is a tool for peace and clarity. We're going to be learning why stillness is not the same as stagnation and how we can lead to a deeper transformation. And we're going to be looking at some actionable steps, how we can embrace the stillness and presence. And we're going to surrender to the moment more easily so we can find fulfillment more readily. All of these aspects are going to lead us to the steps that we're going to be taking. Here in this article, we do have, of course, the steps that you can be taking, and they're right down on the bottom of the article. We're not going to necessarily be looking at those steps as something that you can do on your own accord because it's a very straight through process. But I will say, in order for this article to work for you, you have to have a strong mindset, right? A TUS series, again, is going to be for people who have strong mindsets. It's not for someone who's questionable about themselves. They don't have the confidence. They're lacking something right now. They have a fixed mindset. They don't have the goals. They can't even see their future. There's no mission. There's no vision. There's no why. There's no purpose. They don't even know how they're going to do it. There's a lot of work that needs to be done before you can say, let me pay attention. Because paying attention can be a good thing, especially like if you're doing some check-in. But if you're running a marathon, you don't need to be stopping every second to figure out where you are. Just follow the markers and keep on moving. Sometimes in life, there's no markers though. So we don't know when it's going to be an appropriate time to stop. So people don't stop. People keep going until they burn out, until their wheels fall off, until they get a doctor's note and they say, hey, if you don't change something, you're going to be 6 feet under. Well, that can scare anyone, right? Because I talk about this idea of if I gave you $10 million today, but tomorrow you're going to die, you're not going to take the $10 million because you understand that life is worth more than $10 million. Now, I'm not saying that you can't use $10 million today. Maybe you could buy something nice, maybe give it to your family, and maybe you're a person that is just done with life, or there's something in your life that's just killing you. You're like, it's better to go with some money that I can leave my loved ones than it is for me to hold on to life because life can be hard. Again, this is this idea of where's your mindset. If you have a strong mindset, you're not going to take $10 million, right? Life is too important. Even if you only have 1 day left to live, even if you only had 24 hours left to live, right? The money is not as important. So when we're looking at this aspect of stillness, it is not as easy as I can say, all right, everyone, let's meditate, let's focus. And all of a sudden you're going to be in the right position? Well, one of the things we have to look at first is how much are we doing and how much are we stressed? We talked about stress a little bit last week on one of the guest episodes where we don't necessarily know how stressed we are. Maybe until you just wear yourself out. This happens quite a bit when someone is grieving or they're going through hardships in their life. They don't know how much toll is being put on their body or their mind until maybe the breaking point, until maybe they have an opportunity to finally relax. And then finally, all the exhaustion, all the grief, all the sadness, all the anger, it comes barreling down like buckets from the sky. And you don't know what to do to avoid it. So the only thing that happens is you sit there, you stand there, and you get drenched. And you're trying to deal with all of this chaos that's ensuing because now you're paying attention. But then again, maybe the fix for that is, hey, why don't we just do the opposite? Why don't we just keep on doing what we were doing and keep on getting busy and being busy so we're not staying focused? And I can't tell you how many people they do that for a period of time and then they find themselves unhappy and lost and stuck because they decided to not pay attention to what needed to be fixed. I think of if your home, your ceiling, right? Like there's a roof leak or something. You're like, well, maybe eventually the wood would expand and there's not going to be a leak anymore. Well, sure. We can pray that that can happen. Maybe a squirrel or a bird is going to build a nest and magically plug the hole so there's no more rain. Yeah, that can magically happen too. But the reality is, if there's a hole in the roof, you should do something about it immediately. Not simply just say, well, let me allow the water damage to happen. Let me allow the air to come in, the snow to come in, or whatever to come in, the bugs, for me to deal with it when it happens. We know that there's a problem right now today. So why are we not taking action? But then again, everyone else will say, instead of me fixing the big problem in my roof and my ceiling, I'm going to look at all the little problems I have to do. I have to post on social media. I have to let people know I'm going to the party. I have to buy a new outfit for the party. I have to go out and drink with the friends and the boys. I have to go out and drive fast and try to impress all these people or something along these lines. I got to hang around with people who don't mean anything. I mean, we can go down the list of how many times we do something, but then again, it doesn't bring about anything beneficial. Because what would happen if you said, okay, I'm going to build a home and you buy all the material and you get all of the stuff and you have all the stuff to build a home, but you don't have any room for the builders to work. They have to move all this building material, all the cabinets, all the flooring, all the wood, all the concrete. It's all in the wrong spot. When you're building a home, it happens in steps. There's a system to it. You're going to get the concrete after you're done digging, of course. So all the excavators and stuff are going to be gone. Now you are able to pour the concrete. And then from there, the concrete sets. And then you can start framing. It's not, hey, let me start framing and there's no concrete. We have a system, we have an order. And what happens is in life sometimes we don't pay attention to the order. We just kind of haphazardly do things and we wonder why this is not working out. Like everything is so chaotic, everything is not peaceful. And it's because we're just allowing our life to fall into this. So people, they feel as if they're not transforming, but they're being anchored down. They're not flying, they're not advancing, right? They're just stuck. Their goals are not becoming reality. So, if we know all of this to be said when it comes to us taking action in our life, the movements that we can be doing, yeah, sure, movement is good, progress is good. But what if I told you there was another way? What if I told you there's a way to slow down, to stop time and to pay attention? And I think of how some people they call me, and I don't accept everyone as clients, not because I don't want to help you, but because sometimes what you need is a wake up call for yourself. These people are definitely not ready for a TOS. I'll tell you that much. They have a lot of work to do. And as much as they want to make progress and maybe they feel as if they're doing the right thing, yes, setting up a consultation, yes, setting up a call, contacting me, reading the blogs, listening to the podcast, all of these things can be wonderful things for you for the short period of time. But what about the long periods of time? What about in 5 years from now? Are you still doing what you need to be doing? And the reality is, no, you're not. You can look back at where you were 5 years ago and you can look at where you are today. I hope you can say you made improvements, but there's too many people in this world that can look back and say, hey, it's the same thing. It's the same marriage. It's the same job. It's the same life. A fulfilling life that's just literally the same at 20 to 65 is a waste. And I understand that's a big word, right? Because if you have failed to understand or transition your mindset every 5 to 10 years, you have failed. And I understand it's a big, big blow. You have to transform. Imagine technology. What if I said, technology is going to change in the next 10 years? And you can hold on to your old ways of doing things, or you can adapt and leverage it. Adapting and leverage it is going to be better for you long term. It's going to give you better prowess. You're going to get better results, and you're going to be ahead of competition if you have any. But then again, if you just kind of keep doing things the old way, eventually you're going to bury yourself. We talked about this idea of Kodak and how they didn't want to enter the digital photo world, and Canon said, I will. And look what happened with Kodak. Canon took the lead. This can happen in your life right now. Are you taking the lead, or are you just allowing yourself to fall into this perpetual motion of being stuck and not taking action? Well, all of this is nice, right? Because we're thinking about to take action now. And I want your mindset to be in this idea of taking action, because we should be thinking about, what are we going to do next? What is our tomorrow goal or tomorrow plan? What is our New Year's resolution? We're giving ourselves goals. We're giving ourselves the steps that we have to be taking. But what if I said, instead of sending your emails out tomorrow morning, I want you to go for a walk to the park? How would you feel if you did that? Would you feel any different? Would you feel guilty? Would you feel empowered? Would you feel as if you were breaking the rules? I don't know. But what I can say is, if you do the work, you're going to notice a big shift, something different, because you slow down. Sometimes when you're driving very quickly on the highway, and whether you're going the speed limit or not doesn't matter, things are moving very quickly versus if you were just walking. Most people today, they don't walk places. They just take a bus or an Uber, or they have their own vehicles and they go to where they want to go very quickly. To go back to walking to where you wanted to go. I remember when growing up, my great grandmother, she didn't live too far from us, maybe a mile away. And a mile today might seem like, oh my goodness, this is so far. Even if it was a mile and a half, people will still say, it's so far. But sometimes we would ride our bike and we'll get there in no time. And sometimes we would walk because we didn't have our bike at our location. And all this was fine. But then I think of how we paid attention. We were paying attention to not falling on any of the cracks, making sure we didn't get ran over by any cars when we're going across the street. Make sure we are taking some shortcuts in the grass because we don't want to walk around the long way or something like that. All of these things are allowing us to feel every single step. And maybe it's hot outside, maybe it's raining, maybe we're tired, maybe we're hungry. We're feeling all of these things at some point in our life or on some point of that journey. But then we get to where we want to go and it feels good. We accomplished our goal, but it took time. We took the slow road. We used our own 2 feet. And I think back now when I got in the car, instead of walking on my own 2 feet, I didn't have time to think I didn't have time to play out all the scenarios because the time from A to B was too short. So I was focused on driving. I was focused on just getting to the destination rather than focusing on the journey. And when I would drive to where I wanted to go, I was just thinking about where I wanted to drive next, not about the journey, not about the destination that I went to at the time, which was my great grandmother's house. I was thinking about where I was to go next. And I think about how many people, when they live so fast, they get to one spot and they think about where do they have to go next. Why not camp out? Why not pay attention? Why not savor this moment a little bit more? There's a movie called Peaceful Warrior, and I give it to some of my clients and I give it to some of the people who reach out for a consultation because it is going to help you with your mindset of this idea of slowing down. Most people, when they're coming to me, they want a quick fix. They want everything magically fixed. They want to say, "Hey, Michael, I want you to fix my life. Hey, Michael, I want this done, and I want it done in 2 months, or I want it done in 1 month." And I say, "Okay, well, let's be realistic here. How long have you been allowing this to happen?" They'll say 5, 6 years. And I'm going to say, well, do you expect for a magic pill or something to happen, a substance, a mindset to be instilled with you in just a couple of months? And it took you 5 years to get there? I'm not saying we need a coach for 2.5 years in order to change it, but we need to be deliberate in what we're doing. It's not about time. It's about, are we doing what we need to be doing? Everyone else, they want the quick fix. Everyone else, they want the magic bullet, right? They want the staircase, the ladder to wherever they have to reach to. But then again, they're not paying attention. They're not paying attention to how high is it? Is it windy? Is it sunny? Are you tired? Are you hungry? All of these factors need to be present in order for us to take deliberate action. Now, most people, they give themselves deliberate action in the sense of, I'm doing this because I have to. Well, what if we change that have to I get to? You get to walk to your destination. You get to pay attention. You get to slow down. But then again, everyone else is such in a rush to get to the finish line that they're not worried about the in-betweens of the race. There's so many times when I was doing something difficult. It could be a race, marathon, Tough Mudder, zombie races I did. During the race, it was terrible, to say the least. I'm like, this sucks. But the more I did it, the easier it became. I started to challenge myself for new races. I can do more push-ups and more pull-ups, and I can do tougher obstacles. And it was to the point where I got things done very quickly. But then when I was getting these things done so quickly, I was like, I'm not necessarily paying attention. I wasn't looking at every little aspect to what that moment was until I said, let me slow down a little bit. And I think of the movie, The Peaceful Warrior, when he first learned this skill or the trait of slowing down. He did it in the shower for the first time, and he basically was able to look at how the water was falling. And this is like in the book or a movie, but again, this is this idea, this concept of it. Then there was another one in the park where he can see all the people. They're talking, their movements. They grab someone's hair, if they were kissing someone, the dog running. All of these things happen sometimes without our knowledge, maybe without our consent. We don't control everything. But then again, we try to control everything in our life. It's very intimidating for the mind to say, hey, we have to be in control of every aspect of our life. What if we just said, we're going to relinquish that control and just allow for what is to be what is, to sit and to be at peace rather to be in constant constraint and tension. So many people are focused on, I got to do this, I got to do that. Their to-do list is too long for a day, but yet they focus on that to-do list like it's their Bible, like it is their death sentence if they don't get it done. And rightfully so. Maybe some of those things need to get done. So we prioritize. But most of the time, They're not still during that time. They're not present during that time. They're unfocused, but they might be determined to get what they want done. So the constant growth that people might be seeking might be propelling them forward, but is it allowing them and allowing their mind to have the sense of freedom? And in this article here, TUS Part 75, The Power of Stillness, Finding Peace in the Present Moment Instead of Constant Growth. This article talks about many facets different than what I talked about today on the podcast. And I encourage you to check out the link below to learn about how you can find peace in the present moment, how you can find peace in maybe the busy moments of your life. Burnout can happen before you know it. Life can be missed if you're not paying attention. So we have to be able to be more mindful. We have to create space to reflect and surrender. And we're not doing this just because in life we have this concept of we have to be in constant vibration and constant movement. We reframe the success for what we want it to be. Most people, when they think of working a 9 to 5, for example, they think of 65, they get to retire, and at retirement, they get to sit on their front porch, or they get to hang out with their grandkids, or they get to just do nothing. But then again, most of those people, they're not happy, they're not fulfilled, because what was happening was they weren't still on that journey. Happiness is not at the goal. It's not at 65. It is along the way. Fulfillment is along the way. It happens at every pivotal point. So sometimes we have to say, hey, growth is great, but growth is not everything. Let me be still for a moment. Not only can I see the bigger picture, not only can I reflect at what has been done, but I can also appreciate what I did prior. I can appreciate the journey thus far. I can sit down with my meal that I've cooked with my family, and I can savor every bite. I'm not rushing to get through so I can watch my Netflix show. I'm not rushing to get through so I can make my way to work or make my way to the office to get the emails done. Sometimes the slow lane can show you so much more than the fast lane. It requires you to be still. It requires you to be present. It requires you to be in the moment.